Most people do not realize this, but misery is not something life forces upon us. It is something we often choose, knowingly or unknowingly. It is important to understand that while pain in life is inevitable, misery is optional. Pain is a response to something external, something happening to us that we cannot control. A loss, a betrayal, a disappointment. But misery is what happens after the pain, once we allow it to settle inside us, once we feed it with our thoughts, our emotions, and our focus. Pain knocks on everyone's door, but misery is what happens when we invite pain to move in and take over our home. Life is not fair. We have all heard that before, but fairness is not a prerequisite for happiness. Some of the most joyful people in the world live in the harshest circumstances, while some of the most miserable people have every luxury at their fingertips. Why? Because they made different decisions about how they would respond to life. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose what you become as a result of it. Life can give you storms, betrayals, delays, and heartbreaks, but only you can decide whether those experiences will make you bitter or better. Misery is a cycle. It starts with an event, something negative or disappointing, but instead of processing it, accepting it, and moving forward, we replay it over and over in our minds. We amplify it, we exaggerate its importance, we tie it to our self-worth, and we allow it to redefine our lives. Before long, the event becomes a story we tell ourselves. I am a victim, life is against me, nothing good ever happens for me. And this story becomes a lens through which we view the entire world. Every missed opportunity, every rejection, every inconvenience becomes further proof that life is miserable. And so we become stuck in the prison of our own making. But here's the shocking truth. You have the power to stop that cycle at any moment. The key is awareness. Most people are not aware that they are choosing misery. They believe it is just happening to them. They think they have no choice but to be upset, bitter, or defeated. But emotions are like guests. They only stay as long as you entertain them. When you stop feeding misery with your attention and energy, it weakens. When you refuse to replay the story of your suffering, it loses its power. When you replace negative thoughts with gratitude and purpose, misery cannot survive. Every single day, you make countless small choices that determine whether you live in misery or in peace. You choose what you focus on. You choose what stories you tell yourself about your experiences. You choose whether to forgive or to hold on to bitterness. You choose whether to see yourself as a victim or as a student of life, learning and growing from every experience. These small, seemingly insignificant choices build your emotional environment just as surely as bricks build a house. There is tremendous power in realizing you are not at the mercy of life. Life can throw dirt at you, but you decide whether it buries you or plants you. Your mindset, your focus, your interpretation of events, these are the true architects of your emotional reality. A person with a resilient mind can walk through the fire and come out refined, not destroyed. A person with a negative defeatist mind can drown in shallow water. It is not about what happens to you, it is about what happens in you. You might say, but you don't know what I've been through. That is true. Everyone's story is different and some wounds run very deep. But even in acknowledging your pain, you must also acknowledge your power. Otherwise, you become a prisoner to your past. You have to believe that you are stronger than your circumstances, or you will always live beneath them. It does not mean you ignore your pain. It means you refuse to let your pain have the final word. Freedom begins when you take ownership of your emotional state. You stop waiting for life to make you happy. You stop needing other people to validate you. You stop allowing circumstances to dictate your peace. You realize that your joy, your hope, your energy, these are inside jobs. And when you realize that misery is not something the world is doing to you, but something you are allowing, you also realize you have the power to change it. You were not created to live miserable. Life was not designed to break you. You are not here just to endure, but to overcome. There is a strength inside you that is bigger than your problems, a light that no darkness can extinguish. The first step toward living a fulfilled, peaceful life is simple but profound. Stop choosing misery. Stop rehearsing your losses. Stop defining yourself by what went wrong. Choose gratitude, choose purpose, choose hope. Choose to see every difficulty as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. The power to change your life starts with changing your mind. Stop making yourself miserable and start making yourself powerful. One of the greatest sources of misery in life is not what happens to us, but what we expect to happen and doesn't. False expectations are like invisible traps we set for ourselves, silent, deadly, and incredibly powerful. When you expect life to always be fair, people to always be kind, opportunities to always come easily, and circumstances to always work in your favor, you are setting yourself up for constant disappointment. It is not life that is cruel. It is the unrealistic expectations we carry that create the pain we experience. Think about it. How often have you found yourself frustrated? Not because something was truly terrible, but because it didn't meet the picture you painted in your mind. You expected someone to be more loyal, but they weren't. You expected success to come faster, but it didn't. You expected a relationship to heal your loneliness, but it only revealed deeper wounds. The gap between reality and expectation becomes the breeding ground for frustration, resentment, and eventually misery. False expectations don't just appear out of nowhere. They are often planted by the culture around us, by fairy tales, movies, social media, and even well-meaning people who tell us that life should always be smooth, success should be immediate, and love should be effortless. And without even realizing it, we buy into these ideas. We set standards for life that it never promised to meet. And when life does what it has always done, present challenges, delays, betrayals, and lessons, we feel attacked. But life is not attacking you. Life is teaching you. It's correcting your false expectations. There's a dangerous lie that says if you're a good person, only good things will happen to you. This is not reality. Good people get hurt. Hardworking people experience failure. Faithful people are sometimes betrayed. Generous people get taken advantage of. Life does not operate according to the ledger of our expectations. It flows according to principles, seasons, and purposes we often cannot immediately understand. False expectations convince us that we are entitled to a life without suffering, and when suffering inevitably comes, it feels like a personal assault rather than a natural part of the human journey. The tragedy of false expectations is that they rob you of the ability to appreciate what is. You could have a beautiful moment in front of you, a small victory, a meaningful connection, a chance to grow. But if you are obsessed with the expectation of something bigger, shinier, or easier, you will overlook it. Expectations create filters. You will only see what aligns with what you believe you deserve or desire, and you will miss the blessings, lessons, and breakthroughs that come in unexpected forms. Not only do false expectations damage your relationship with yourself, they also poison your relationships with others. When you put unfair, unspoken expectations on people, expecting them to know exactly what you need, to never disappoint you, to always prioritize you, you are setting yourself up for anger and hurt. No one can carry the weight of your inner emptiness. No one can perfectly live up to the script you have written for them in your head. Relationships thrive when rooted in grace and communication, not demands and assumptions. The same applies to your goals and dreams. Expecting overnight success leads to burnout. Expecting perfection on the first try leads to giving up too soon. Success, mastery, healing, growth, all of these require time, patience, and perseverance. When you release the false expectation of immediacy, You free yourself to enjoy the journey, to learn from failure, and to celebrate small wins without frustration. Freedom begins when you stop demanding that life conform to your wishes and start working with life as it is. When you accept that difficulty, delay, and disappointment are not exceptions but part of the process, you gain emotional resilience. You become unshakable because you are no longer surprised by the challenges. You are prepared for them. And in that preparation, you find power. Ask yourself, what are the false expectations you are carrying right now? Are you expecting a relationship to fill a void that only purpose can fill? Are you expecting success without sacrifice? Are you expecting peace without forgiving someone who hurt you? Are you expecting happiness while clinging to bitterness? Every false expectation you release is a burden lifted off your soul. It's time to reset your expectations. Expect life to be a teacher, not a servant. Expect relationships to be complex, not perfect. Expect growth to be slow, not instant. Expect challenges to come, but also expect that you are strong enough to overcome them. When you align your expectations with reality, frustration diminishes, gratitude increases, and misery loses its grip on your life. The truth is, life owes you nothing. People owe you nothing. Dreams owe you nothing. Everything good you experience is a gift, not a guarantee. When you live with this awareness, you stop waiting for life to satisfy your every demand, and you start living with a heart full of wonder, resilience, and gratitude. False expectations are a silent enemy, but you have the power to dismantle them. Let go of what you think life should be so you can embrace the beauty of what life is. One of the deepest causes of misery is not the challenges we face, but the confusion we carry within us about who we really are. When you don't know who you are, life becomes a never-ending battlefield. You wrestle with decisions. You chase after things that don't fulfill you. You mold yourself to fit into places you were never meant to be. Identity confusion creates an internal war that no amount of success, money, relationships, or applause can ever silence. Until you know who you are, you will always be at war within yourself, constantly striving, constantly doubting, constantly feeling out of place. From the moment we are born, the world tries to label us. Family, culture, society, media, they all offer definitions of who we should be. If we are not intentional, we start wearing these labels like clothes. We mistake roles for identity. We confuse titles for purpose. We let achievements, failures, opinions, and circumstances tell us who we are. But identity that is built on anything external is unstable. When the applause stops, when the job ends, when the relationship breaks, when circumstances shift, a borrowed identity collapses, and so does the sense of self attached to it. When you don't know who you are, you become everything people need you to be and nothing you were created to be. You become a chameleon, blending into every environment, seeking validation through acceptance. But the tragedy is that no amount of external acceptance can fill the void created by internal confusion. You can be admired by the world and still feel invisible to yourself. You can win every award and still feel like a fraud inside, because deep down, you know you are living disconnected from your true self. Identity confusion makes every decision heavier. You second guess your moves, not because you are incapable, but because you don't have a stable sense of where you are supposed to go. When you are unclear about who you are, every door looks tempting and every opinion sounds convincing. You waste precious years chasing dreams that were never yours, climbing ladders that lean against the wrong walls, investing energy into roles that drain rather than fulfill you. And every time you compromise your true self for approval, you deepen the inner conflict. You were not designed to be everyone else's version of successful. You were not created to fulfill every expectation placed on you. You have a unique design, a specific purpose, a path that fits you perfectly. When you try to live someone else's story, you lose the peace that only authenticity can bring. And the more you live disconnected from your design, the more miserable, anxious, and empty you become. You feel the inner frustration, but you don't always recognize the cause. It is not the circumstances around you. It is the identity crisis within you. There is a peace that comes when you finally accept who you are unapologetically, not who people think you should be, not who your mistakes say you are, not who fear tries to convince you to become, but the true, raw, authentic you. The one who was born with gifts, passions, and dreams that no one else on this earth can duplicate. When you know who you are, you stop competing with others because you realize no one else can do what you were specifically wired to do. You stop chasing after every opportunity because you know not every opportunity aligns with your assignment. You stop bending under pressure to conform because your inner compass is stronger than the noise around you. Identity is not something you invent, it's something you uncover. It was placed within you before you were even aware of it. Your gifts, your passions, your personality, your deepest longings, they are clues to your true identity. It's not about trying to create yourself from scratch. It's about peeling away the layers of false labels, unmet expectations, and fear-based adaptations until you find the original version of yourself. When you operate from a clear identity, life becomes simpler. Not because circumstances get easier, but because you are no longer internally divided. You can face challenges without questioning your worth. You can hear criticism without crumbling. You can walk away from opportunities that aren't meant for you without feeling like you're losing something. Your identity becomes your anchor, holding you steady no matter what storms come. But you must choose to pursue that clarity. You must be willing to sit in silence long enough to hear your own heart. You must be courageous enough to walk away from paths that no longer fit your soul. You must be disciplined enough to stop asking everyone else for permission to be yourself. The greatest tragedy is not living with external limitations, it's living in internal confusion. And the greatest freedom is not external success, it's internal clarity. You cannot build a joyful, powerful life on a foundation of confusion. You must know who you are, why you are here, and what you refuse to compromise. When you do, misery loses its power because you are no longer searching for identity in unstable places. You stand firm, you move with purpose, and you live with the deep, unshakable peace that can only come from authenticity. The real you is not miserable. The real you is powerful, clear, passionate, and free. Find that version of yourself and live from that place every single day. One of the most subtle yet destructive habits that creates misery in your life is comparison. It is a slow poison. It does not destroy you all at once. It eats away at your joy bit by bit, day after day. When you fall into the trap of constantly measuring your life against the lives of others, you rob yourself of the ability to enjoy your own journey. You lose sight of your own progress, your own growth, your own blessings, because your eyes are too busy scanning someone else's path, someone else's achievements, someone else's highlight reel. Comparison is a thief. It sneaks in silently and steals your gratitude. It takes what is beautiful in your life and makes it look small, ordinary, or insufficient. It convinces you that because someone else has something you don't, a relationship, a career, a body, a following, a talent, somehow your life is incomplete, somehow you are less. But the truth is, comparison is based on an illusion. You are never seeing the full story. You are comparing your behind the scenes struggles with someone else's polished performance. You are measuring your beginning against someone else's middle or their peak. And no matter how much you achieve, if you live in comparison, you will never feel like you are enough. Contentment cannot survive where comparison is thriving. You could have made incredible progress. You could be healthier, wiser, stronger, kinder than you were last year. But if you fix your eyes on someone else's achievements, you will diminish your own. You will start to believe the lie that you are not moving fast enough, not achieving enough, not becoming enough. And that inner voice of inadequacy will slowly drain the joy out of your life. Comparison leads to competition where there should be collaboration. Instead of learning from others, you start resenting them. Instead of celebrating other people's victories, you feel
threatened by them. Instead of walking your own journey with focus and passion, you constantly look sideways, distracted and discouraged. Every step forward feels hollow because you are measuring it against a standard that was never meant for you in the first place. Here is the brutal truth. Someone will always be ahead of you in some area. Someone will always have something you don't. If your peace is dependent on being the best, the fastest, the richest, the most admired, you will never have peace. Your worth cannot be based on a moving target. You cannot build a stable life on unstable comparisons. You must find your value internally rooted in who you are, not in how you stack up against someone else. Your journey is yours alone. Your pace is yours alone. Your calling is yours alone. No one else can live your life. No one else can carry your assignment. No one else has your exact combination of experiences, gifts, dreams, and destiny. When you waste time comparing yourself, you are disrespecting your own uniqueness. You are abandoning the very path you were meant to walk powerfully, and the tragedy is you can miss the fulfillment you were created for simply because you were too distracted by someone else's story. You have no idea what someone else paid for what they have. You see the success, but not the sleepless nights. You see the spotlight, but not the scars. You see the blessing, but not the battles fought in silence. And you don't need to know, because their journey is not yours. Your responsibility is not to outperform them. Your responsibility is to become the best, most authentic version of yourself. That is your assignment. That is your race. Gratitude is the antidote to comparison. When you choose to focus on what you have, the growth you have achieved, the lessons you have learned, the people you have loved and who love you, comparison loses its grip. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. It reminds you that you are already living a life full of miracles that someone else is desperately praying for. Gratitude keeps you grounded in reality, not trapped in the endless and exhausting fantasy of trying to measure up to someone else. You cannot be both fully grateful and bitterly envious at the same time. You must choose to see your blessings, choose to celebrate your small wins, choose to honor your process, because if you do not, you will spend your entire life chasing a moving target, never arriving, never resting, never truly living. You are not created to be a copy. You were not created to be a shadow of someone else's greatness. You were created to be original, intentional, powerful, and irreplaceable. The world needs what you carry. The world needs your voice, your perspective, your contribution, but you will never unleash it if you keep doubting your value every time someone else shines. Stop poisoning your soul with comparison. Your life is not a competition. Your journey is sacred. Your pace is perfect for your purpose. Run your race. Focus on your lane. Celebrate others without diminishing yourself. And most importantly, remember, the only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. One of the heaviest chains that binds people to misery is their inability to let go of the past. They carry it like a weight, dragging it into every conversation, every decision, every dream. Living in the past is like trying to drive forward while staring into the rear. You can't see where you're going. You can't move with clarity, and sooner or later, you crash. No matter how painful, how unfair, or how confusing the past was, you were not designed to live there. It happened, it shaped you, it taught you, but it was never meant to imprison you. Regret is a silent killer. It gnaws at your confidence. It whispers lies in your ear. If only you hadn't made that mistake. If only you had been smarter, faster, stronger. If only you had said yes. If only you had said no. And the more you entertain those thoughts, the more you surrender your power. You begin to believe that because something happened to you, or because you failed in some way, your best days are behind you. You start living a smaller life, afraid to dream, afraid to trust, afraid to move, because your heart is still locked in yesterday's pain. The past cannot be changed, no matter how much you rehearse it in your mind, no matter how many times you replay the scenes. It will not alter the facts. But what can change, what must change, is your relationship to it. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. It is a place to learn from, not a place to live in. You are not what happened to you. You are not your failures. You are not your mistakes. You are not the betrayal, the rejection, the loss. You are the person who survived it. You are the person who is still standing, still breathing, still capable of building a new future. When you refuse to release the past, you sabotage your present and you paralyze your future. Every time you replay that heartbreak, you reopen the wound. Every time you dwell on that missed opportunity, you reinforce the lie that you are stuck. Every time you cling to what was, you blind yourself to what could be. There are doors opening right now. There are people you haven't met yet who could change your life. There are opportunities forming in your future that are greater than anything you lost, but you won't see them if your eyes are still locked on yesterday. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from it. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about choosing not to let that hurt define you anymore. Forgiveness is a radical act of self-respect. It says, I value my future too much to let my past hold me hostage. You may not have had control over what happened, but you absolutely have control over how much longer you allow it to control you. Living in the past creates fear, fear that history will repeat itself, fear that you will fail again, fear that you will be hurt again, fear that you are unworthy of something better, but fear is a liar. Fear magnifies the pain of the past and minimizes the promise of the future. It tricks you into building walls around your heart, walls so high that not only can the pain not get in, but neither can love, opportunity, or growth. You must decide, are you going to be defined by the worst thing that happened to you, or by the strength you showed in surviving it? Are you going to be chained to old wounds, or are you going to rise with wisdom? Are you going to keep letting the past sabotage your potential, or are you finally going to break free and live the life that still calls to you? Healing is a choice. It's not always fast. It's not always easy. But it is always possible. It begins the moment you stop glorifying the pain and start reclaiming your power. It begins when you say, what happened hurt me, but it will not have the final word over my life. It begins when you stop asking why it happened and start asking, what can I build now, knowing what I know, carrying the strength I gained? Your future needs you present. It needs you awake, available, and willing to move forward. It needs your energy, your creativity, your hope. But as long as you are emotionally anchored to the past, you are unavailable for the miracles waiting for you. You must make peace with the past, not because it was right, but because you deserve to be free. Your story is not over because you made mistakes. It's not over because you trusted the wrong people. It's not over because you lost something precious. If anything, the scars you carry are proof that you were built to endure, to overcome, to begin again. And you can, but you must stop looking back. Today can be the day you set yourself free. Today can be the day you say, I am not who I was. I am not what happened. I am who I choose to become. Today can be the day you finally stop making yourself miserable with memories that were never meant to imprison you. The future is calling. The question is, will you answer? One of the most liberating truths you will ever embrace is that happiness is not something you find at the end of a long, exhausting journey. It is not hidden in the next relationship, the next promotion, the next achievement, or the next vacation. Happiness is not something waiting for you somewhere out there in the future. It is something you decide to choose right here, right now, regardless of what you have, where you are, or what you are going through. The greatest myth that keeps people miserable is the idea that I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I lose the weight. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I move to a better city. I'll be happy when my dreams come true. But the problem with that thinking is simple. Every time you reach one of those milestones, the finish line moves. You find yourself chasing the next thing and the next thing and the next without ever arriving at the peace and joy you were hoping for. Happiness cannot be delayed until your circumstances become perfect. If you keep waiting for a flawless life before you allow yourself to feel content, you will spend your entire life waiting. Life will never be perfectly lined up the way you imagine. There will always be challenges, always be delays, always be unexpected turns. Happiness is not a product of a perfect life. It's a product of a made-up mind. It's the result of choosing to find joy, gratitude, and beauty in the imperfect, messy, real moments of today. You see, circumstances may influence your mood, but they don't control your joy unless you let them. True happiness is built internally, not externally. It's the result of your mindset, your perspective, and your choices. It's deciding to wake up every morning and look for reasons to be thankful instead of reasons to be bitter. It's refusing to give your power away to problems, to people, to pressures that have no right to dictate your spirit. The people who live the most joyful lives are not the ones who have the least problems. They are the ones who have decided not to let their problems steal their spirit. They are the ones who understand that joy is an inside job. They are the ones who, even in the middle of uncertainty, find a reason to smile, to be kind, to keep moving forward with faith and hope. They understand that their happiness is their responsibility, not their spouse's, not their boss's, not their circumstances, not even fate's. It is theirs, and they own it fully. You can live your whole life waiting for someone else to change, for a breakthrough to come, for the world to finally treat you fairly, or you can realize that you hold the key to your emotional freedom. You get to choose today to live with peace in your heart, regardless of the storms around you. You get to decide today to stop postponing your joy for a someday that may never come. You get to say today, I choose to enjoy the blessings I have instead of crying over the ones I don't. Happiness is not about denying reality. It's not pretending that life is easy when it's hard. It's not ignoring pain or running from struggles. Happiness is about deciding that even in the middle of hardship, there are still reasons to hope, reasons to be grateful, reasons to laugh, reasons to love, reasons to keep going. It's about refusing to allow temporary problems to rob you of permanent joy. The truth is, everything you think you need to be happy already exists inside of you. You have strength that has already carried you through things you thought you couldn't survive. You have gifts that no circumstance can take away. You have breath in your lungs and purpose in your bones. There are people who care about you, opportunities ahead of you, and possibilities within you that you have not even begun to tap into yet. You are already standing in the middle of countless miracles. The problem is not the lack of blessings, it's the lack of awareness, and awareness is a decision. Every day, you are presented with two choices: focus on what's missing or focus on what's present. Focus on what's broken or focus on what's beautiful. Focus on what's frustrating or focus on what's possible. Whichever you choose will determine the quality of your life not 5 years from now, but today, right now, in this moment. Stop postponing your happiness for some imaginary moment when everything finally falls into place. Choose to find joy now. Choose to find peace now. Choose to find gratitude now. Choose to celebrate your life now. You are not waiting for happiness to come to you. Happiness is waiting for you to wake up to it. And when you make that decision, everything changes not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger, wiser, freer. Misery thrives when you believe that your joy is outside your control. But freedom begins the moment you realize that happiness is not found, it is created. It is built day by day, choice by choice, thought by thought, and you have the power to build it starting right now. Choose joy, choose peace, choose life,